Hari Om. Let's start with the prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanura Mardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravinam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Amadeva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. We are trying to understand the fundamentals of Advaita Vedanta, because we want to make sure, because started saying how is the bondage and what are the liberation. So according to the Advaita Vedanta, the bondage is different compared to other philosophical traditions like Visishta Advaita, where the cause for bondage is different, and therefore the solution to the bondage is also different. Therefore we need to understand why both interpretations are based on Vedanta only. So how logical are we, or how accurate are we, and how we can be sure that we are in the right, because everyone claims, every Matha Adhikari says that their methodology is right, or their interpretation is correct compared to any other interpretations. So every darshanika, every philosopher claims that their interpretation is correct compared to other. So we want to make sure, because we want to know the truth. We are not interested in the philosophical traditions. We are not interested in particular methodology. We want to know what is the absolute truth. And for that, we need to be extremely logical. At the same time, the truth being beyond the logic, we should understand correctly, are we in the right path or not. So that's why we are going into a little bit deeper, because Advaita Vedanta says it is the avidya that is the cause for creation. Ignorance causes for creation. Then the questions that arise: who is ignorant? Am I ignorant, or Brahman is ignorant? Whose avidya are we talking about? Why did the avidya started? How did I come? How did I have or gain the not having the knowledge properly? All these secondary questions come into picture once we accept that avidya is the cause. So therefore the question is being criticized, or the other philosophers criticize this basic concept of the Advaitic concept of avidya, which is Maya. So we have to ask that. For that we need to understand why we say this is how it is, and it has to be logical. At the same time, it has to be scripturally valid, and at the same time the absolute truth that we are longing for, and all we want to know fundamentally is none of this, not the Vedanta. What we want to know is how I can be absolutely uninterruptedly happy. That's a fundamental pursuit in life. And given that pursuit, how am I going to accomplish, and how does Advaita Vedanta help me compared to other philosophical traditions? That's why we have to be very sharp, at the same time critical enough to analyze what exactly Vedanta says. Are we ready to accept it? And if not, what are the consequences also? So that's why we are first telling from the basis, fundamentally it is Brahman. And all philosophers agree, and the Brahman is infinite, and it's the nature of pure existent consciousness which is limitless. That is what is called Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam Brahma. And we said it is a Swarupa Lakshanam. They are not attributes of the total, because infinite cannot have attributes. Why? Only attributes are that which differentiates one object from other object. So only to differentiate one from the other, I need an attribute. Therefore, each object can be identified based on the attribute, and all our knowledge is only attributive knowledge, as through the five senses we went through in terms of analysis wise. Only five senses can only gather the forms and sounds, colors and all that. From that I had to define an object. because I cannot see the substantive of any object. That also is to be important in understanding why Advaitic philosophy comes to closer to the truth. We'll go to this because we have to have a clear picture of this, otherwise we get confused, or somebody else says that is the more correct philosophy than this, and then we get sidetracked. So we should have a fundamental understanding that this is the correct understanding, and this is also logical, at the same time it is scriptural. Now the first statement we said is Brahman being infinite, and it's the nature of that, he cannot have any creation. So we have already a problem here, and I am seeing a creation. So if I am seeing a creation and the creation is not there, then we have real another problem. So how am I accounting that which is not there and I am seeing it? And who is a seer and who is a seen? Or there is already division, because I am a seer and this is a seen, and there is a means of instruments of seeing. Through perception I am seeing the world. So there is all this pramata, the seer, prameyam, the object of seeing, and pramana, or the means of knowledge. All this tripad or triputi or the triangular format is already established here. So from this we have to understand, at the same time there cannot be any creation. This contradiction is there. Once from the point of experience, I am experiencing the plurality, and this seems to be real, and that which I cannot see, that I cannot experience, I cannot describe, and Vedanta is that is the truth. And therefore there seems to be a complete contradiction of what Vedanta is trying to point out, at the same time my experience wise. So the experience is I am a local individual who is trying to find out what is or how I can be happy. And therefore here is a problem where I am a local entity, an individual, and there are so many individuals in this world that I say I can transact with, and the whole seems to be a big creation, and it's an infinite creation, and there is the earth itself and the solar system and the galaxies and the galaxies and galaxies. It's a mind-boggling, the total universe, and we say there is no creation, and the Vedanta says there cannot be any creation from the point of absolute, where I am seeing the creation, and within the creation I seem to have a date of birth, and I see people are dying, and one day I am going to kick the bucket too, and therefore there seems to be a time-wise limitation, space-wise limitation, and everywhere there is a limitations, and I feel so much of limited, frustrated, and trying to gain happiness out of this, and it's become a real life, has become a real struggle. Hari Om. We are continuing this series. Suddenly there is an interruption, so we'll continue the talk, and we are looking at the fundamentals of Advaita Vedanta, and we just said there seems to be a creation because I am experiencing it. I seem to have date of birth, and one day I am not going to be there. So I seem to have a limitation of the space and time wise and object wise. It's called a desa kala parichinnatvam. So time wise I am born on such a particular time, and one day I am not going to be there. And in the infinite, the galaxies and at that level of time, this very microscopic time or very small time of my whole lifespan itself. But from my point, it's a long time where I have to gather all my experiences. I have to go through the schooling, I have to get educated, I have to find an employment, I have to find security, all the struggles of life that everyone is going through. Why? They want to reach that state of mind where they are completely happy. Unless I get a secure job, I will not be happy. Unless I have a proper wealth, I will not be happy. So all these things become a part of my life itself, and people live whole life itself is spent and trying to gather things so that they can be happy, or they can pass it on to the next generation so that they can be happy, and in that way I am trying to be happy. So this struggles is going on, and I see everyone is struggling hard, everyone is trying to gain happiness, and one is stamping over the other in order to get their things what they want compared to others, because they are only limited things and everybody wants the same thing. So all those things come, the rat race and everything is started, Because I am there and I see the world is real. And if you say that, say, is it real or not? Is it really the philosophy says there is something else, you go, then you will be more happy there. So this is not the correct life. You are born because of some sin, or somebody ate an apple, or so on and so forth. All philosophical traditions are there to explain there is something different that you have to go or gain. So all the religions are trying to point out that there is a salvation for you from these struggles of life and life. But Vedanta also says this, what you are seeing is only creation, but from the absolute point there cannot be creation. But if I am seeing the creation, then why am I seeing it? And therefore we are now looking into the reality of the seeing, reality of the creation itself. Is it real? Although because the scripture says there cannot be any creation, but when I am seeing, when it is not there, so creation itself cannot be there. At the same time I am seeing it, I am seeing the world, I am seeing the world of plurality, and each one is different and everyone is struggling hard within the creation. And at the same time, if we say from the absolute point there is no creation, but from the relative point there seems to be creation, how do we join these together and make a compromise philosophy of it? How did this creation come into picture? Why am I here? What is this struggle? And that's what the student is asking. Konama bandhaha katamesha agadaha katam pratishtaha. So Advaita Vedanta is pointing out it is the creation is only apparent and not real. That's a fundamental statement. So the creation is not real but appears to be real. So therefore now the question that we have said fundamentally, what is real? So this is where different traditions and philosophies differ, and that's why we have to ask from the question, from the point of Advaita Vedanta, we have to fundamentally should be clear in terms of what is real, what is unreal, and what is in between. So it's only the Advaita Vedanta systematizes this correctly, and why correctly? We have to find out whether it's correctly or not. And to ensure that we are in the correct path, we have to go through systematic and rigorous analysis. Number one, the scripture itself is pointing out that what was there is infinite Sachidanandam, and it saw and it became many. So this itself seems to be some contradiction there in the scriptural statement. So how can it see? Because there is nothing to see, because there is not two seer seen, duality is not there, because one without a second. So therefore now when we come to the creation, we are coming to a step down as though it is a creation. So it's not a real creation but apparent creation, because I am seeing it. So therefore, since I am seeing it, therefore it appears to be there, but it's not really real. And for that, the scripture itself provides an example to see this clearly. So there seemed to be a transformation, and we just now said infinite Anantam, Sachidanandam cannot undergo any transformation because it's infinite. So even the transformation is only apparent transformation. That has to be understood. For that again the scripture becomes a pramana. It tells us that this is a transformationless transformation. It is not really a transformation, but it is an apparent transformation for those to whom it appears. Therefore, we have to be careful. It says from the absolute point, there is Sachidanandam, it is infinite, and there cannot be any creation. But there is an apparent creation and appears to be as though is to be real. So we have to be clear now what is real, what's not real. And this is where the philosophies differ also. So here is a statement from the point of Advaita Vedanta. It says, because I am seeing it, because I am experiencing it, because I am transacting it, it's not real. It's a very funny statement. And for the same reasons, the other Acharya says it is real. Because I am seeing it, because I am experiencing it, because I am transacting it, therefore it is real. So one Acharya says it is real for the same reasons, and the Advaita says it's not real for the same reasons. So this seems to be a problem. So now we have to define what exactly Advaita means by real, not real, and experientially real. So reality is being defined by Advaita is that which does not undergo any change. So here is the definition that is valid. It says if something undergoes a modification, then that cannot be real. So Trikala Abhaditam Satyam, that which remains the same, that means Nityatvam, that means eternally remaining the same, is the definition of real. And this is the Advaitic definition that sticks for. In the other philosophical traditions, they won't imply it, even though they also mean somewhat same. So now we'll analyze a little bit, because I'm going to analyze from the point of the greatest criticism of Advaita by Bhagavan Ramanujacharya, and some of the counter criticisms of Advaita and counter criticisms, and it's a big mushrooming literature, but we have to be clear whether their criticism is valid or not, so that whether we should know that we are in the right path. So understanding the criticism is also important to ensure that we understand clearly whether the Advaitic statements are real or not. So here is the definition. What is real? Real is that which does not undergo any change, because only finite things undergo a change. Anything finite, therefore, cannot be real. And only thing that does not undergo the change is only infinite, because change is a modification and infinite cannot undergo any modification. Therefore, infinite alone is real. That means the Brahman, which is Sat Chit Ananda, alone is real. Therefore, it is absolutely real, and that is the definition of reality from the Advaita point. So therefore, that which exists can never cease to exist, and law of conservation can only be applied, absolute law of conservation can only apply to this which does not undergo even a change also. So therefore, creation is a change involved, and Brahman cannot undergo a change. Therefore, we have to have an apparent creation. Therefore, it appears to be there, but it's not really there. Then it's not really a creation, it's only an apparent creation. So in the philosophical tradition of even Advaita, the philosophy says it's called Ajativada by Gaudapada, says there is no really creation, because he's talking about infinite cannot undergo any transformation. But there is an apparent transformation that includes even Gaudapada, and his statement about Ajativada are part of this so-called the explanations. Everything is within the transactional level. Therefore, even is Ajativada, and even his statements that there is no creation or statements are valid only at the transactional purposes. At the absolute level, nothing can be said, because no words can be reached there. So we have to understand, even when we say there is no creation, we are talking about there is no real creation. What is there is only apparent creation. And appearance is not real, because it itself becomes many. It says that it's a transformation, less transformation, then only it's called apparent transformation. And scripture itself provides examples how this is happening. Therefore, Vedanta is trying to point out, therefore Advaita Vedanta is not far from the scripture statement. It in fact follows exactly what it says. And what the scripture says, just as yatha saumya ekena lohamanina sarvam lohamayam vijnata vacharambanam vikaro namadheyam lohamityeva satyam. My dear, it is just like the transformation, less transformation, just as gold appearing as many. Gold remain as gold, but appearing as many. So this is the same way that Brahman, which is pure existence, appearing as many, because it wants to appear, because it wants only because it saw, because there is nothing to see. That means it became conscious of, or self-conscious, and the conscious or self-conscious entity, it itself became many, just as gold becoming into many. So this is what is called a Vivartavada. Vivartavada means a transformationless transformation, and that's exactly what Advaita prescribes as this is what the creation is. Creation is like gold appearing as many, or mud appearing as many pots, or iron appearing as many tools. Gold remaining as a gold, still varieties are there. So from the point of gold, there is no transformation. So we have to be rougher here. There is an ontological scale here that comes with this analysis. So one has to be careful when we understand the Vedanta and why Advaita Vedanta comes closer to the reality and closer to the scripture also, because it is telling what is creation. It is an only creation which is apparent creation. From the point of this one, infinite cannot undergo transformation. So therefore only an apparent transformation. And apparent transformation example is provided, just like gold becoming into a many. Hence it says, Vacharambanam Vikaro Namadheyam. This Vikara transformation, what we call is only transformationless transformation. It's only Vakarambanam. It's only Nam ke vaste, or for namesake only, because every name that we give within the creation only for a form, but the substance is nothing but Brahman only, because it itself became many. That's a scriptural statement. So, substantive of the whole universe of objects is nothing but Brahman only. But Brahman is beyond any vision. I cannot perceive Brahman. Therefore, what I perceive through the senses is only the Nama Rupa, only the Rupa, the attributes which belong to the finite objects is what I see. And the essence, the substantive, I cannot see, because it's made of Brahman, which is pure, existent, consciousness, infinite. So from the point of that, the scripture is trying to find out that state that this creation is only apparent creation. And that's what, therefore, what appears need not be real, has to be understood. So therefore, what is real is the Vedanta, Advaita Vedanta defines clearly what is real is that which does not undergo any transformation, or that which does not undergo any real change. And therefore, Brahman alone is real, Brahman alone can satisfy, and everything is only apparent transformation, apparent modifications. Therefore, any changes that you are is only apparent but not really real. So we have defined a real, and we have to also define what is unreal, or this is first one is called Sat, another one is Asat. Asat means non-existent is what is called unreal. Means there is never existence at all. And the classical example is Vandhyaputraha. Vandhyaputra means the son of a barren woman. This is a logical contradiction involved. There cannot be a son of a barren woman. So that cannot be possible, and that is Asat. And Asat also, that which we have never seen, also can come under the category unless we see it. Therefore, anything that we have never seen or nobody has seen in the universe can come under Asat. That means there is no locus for existence in this, and that's what is called Asat. So the world doesn't come under Asat, the world comes under Sat also. Why? Sat is pure existence which is real, does not undergo any modification. So neither it is forms under real, nor it comes under unreal, because unreal has no locus, and I cannot experience unreal. But just as I cannot experience Vandhyaputraha or son of a barren woman, I cannot see. Therefore, world, since I am seeing it, it comes either not a real and not a unreal, and that becomes a part of the fundamental postulate of Advaita Vedanta. It's neither real nor real, therefore it is mithya. Mithya means sat asat vilakshanam. It is neither real nor unreal. It is not real because it is changing, therefore it's not real. But it's not unreal also because I can experience. Unreal cannot be, the pure unreal cannot be experienced at all. Therefore, I have to have a third category which is called mithya. All the people who criticize Advaita have to have a clear understanding of what Advaita points out, what is real, what is unreal, and why this universe come under the mithya, neither real nor unreal. It is anirvachaniyam. We cannot say anything other than we are experiencing it. So anything we experience, anything we perceive, anything we transact with comes under this category. It is neither real because it's not permanent, absolute, nityam, or it is the unreal because I am able to transact it. I cannot transact with unreal things. So therefore, there is a mithya category has to be accepted from the definitions in which is available. Now those who criticize, we have to also be careful. When they criticize, do they come up with, how do they explain it? They have in some way or other have to come somewhat similar, although they cover it up in some other words. So we have to be very careful in analysis because this is a science of Vedanta, and we have to be very sharp to distinguish what is being said and how other people are criticizing, or the criticisms are really valid or not. We have to also know. Now in the next time we go into the analysis of the avidya aspect of it and further aspect of this aspect, the reality, unreality, and anirvachaniyam, that means inexplicable nature of the world, also we will try to understand. With this we will stop here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Sri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Namah. All minutes.